Well, back home on Dalal Street, the benchmark indices closed at two-month high levels. The Nifty ended above the 10,850 mark and thus posted its biggest gain in a series since March 2016. The Sensex ended with gains of over 450 points and topped the 36,000 mark. The Bank Nifty as well rallied close to 500 points, but it was the mid-cap index that relatively underperformed, ending with gains of just 0.5%. But that was about yesterday. We are entering a new series and Manglam joins us to tell us how the cues look like. Manglam, good morning.
Good morning, Anisha. You know, the cues look fairly good because, as you rightly pointed out, the November series was the best series in absolute and percentage terms since March 2016. However, this also came after the October series, which was the worst since September 2008. So we have to keep that into perspective. That said, the bulls were on top, 734 points added on the Nifty. This after a 1,500 point dropping that we've seen in the last couple of series. So let's take a look back at how the series panned out. While the Nifty and the Sensex gained about 7.5% each, it was the Nifty Bank which led from the front, 8.5%, and out there it was the PSU banks that did fairly well. What did not do too well was the IT stock, understandably on account of the stronger rupee and the volatility in metal prices taking the metal index lower too. So a few of the index gainers, we have UPL, which surreptitiously gained about 30% this series. Ultratech, after the deal announcement that came in, gained about 20% this series. Reliance, BPCL as well as L&T too, putting anywhere between 15 to 19%. Interesting shift that took place in the banks. Yes Bank, we've been talking about that, down about 50% from its top. We talk about valuations, but there are a lot of concerns with regards to Yes Bank, down about 20% this series after losing in the previous series as well. Kotak Mahindra and HDFC Bank gained about 1.5% and 8%. But if you compare that to the sort of moves that we saw in public sector bank or public sector leader like SBI or corporate facing banks, you would see that there is a marked outperformance of the corporate facing banks as well as SBI as against the others. Another thing that really stood out was the FII flows. FII flows have been very strong over the last 5 trading sessions. We've seen purchase. Last 3 trading sessions have been upwards of $100 million. So all of this optimism goes into the November series. The rollovers have been slightly stronger, 71%. This compares with 69%. And in there, the long rollovers have been slightly stronger as well. 51% longs at the start of the series, which compares with 29% at the start of previous series. So what are the big triggers? For today, there are 3 big triggers. One, post-markets, there will be the GST meet. Secondly, we will have NBFC stocks, whether they will be in focus or not, as RBI has relaxed norms for securitization transactions. This is only for long-dated bonds. So let's see how much of that this moves the needle. And the Trump-Xi meet at the G20 summit. That's as far as today is concerned. For the remainder of this series, we have the RBI policy outcome on December 5. We have the crude OPEC meet on December 6th. Busy election season as well. Election results on December 11th. And finally, it's December party time. FIIs go on holiday. So let's see whether flows thin or not.
I imagine, Manglam, the teetotaler partying really hard.
I'm not partying. I'm talking about the FIIs.
So I know, they're going to. The flows will be something that we'll have to keep an eye out on because volumes are likely to be thin. And keep in mind, Manglam, we are keeping an eye out on what's going to happen between Trump and Xi Jinping, but also Peter Navarro.
Yep.
He's attending.
His presence has now spooked the street.
Yeah, he's going to be at dinner all of a sudden. So they are not going to be happy. But let's see. Let's hope that.
They say two's company, three's crowd. Let's see what happens.
All right. Let's find out what are the stocks you're looking at, Manglam, for today.
Stocks. I'll start off with the NBFC space because RBI relaxed norms for NBFC. But let's see how much that moves the needle again because the relaxation is only for long-term loans which are 5-year plus. Add to that, keep an eye out on Vodafone Idea. The stock has taken a bit of a drubbing, in fact, a fair amount of drubbing, and now we've got a downgrade coming in from CRISIL. They've maintained their negative outlook. The downgrade has come in from AA- to A+. Watch out for Piramal Enterprises because over the last few trading sessions, that stock has been volatile. Exposure to Lodha was the key concern, and then thereafter, the Lodha management came and clarified on CNBC TV 18. We saw some gains come by on Piramal. Now we understand from sources CNBC TV 18 exclusive that Lodha is likely to raise about 5,000 crores to reduce debt. So does that mean it's good news for Piramal or not is something that the street will be watching out for. Repco Home Finance, there was a bulk deal yesterday. Influential investor Pabra Investment Funds sold about 1.5% stake in the company. Mahindra Logistics, their promoters sold stake by about 2.3%. The person who mopped up the stake was Reliance Mutual Fund, 1.5% higher out there in terms of their stake. Marico, Citi said that 35% reduction in copra prices is actually much more than what the management had guided for. So on the back of that, while they've maintained their EPS estimates, they've raised the volume estimates for this year and they have a target price of 430 on Marico. GSK Consumer and HUL. Let's keep an eye out on whether the deal comes by or not. Whoever gets to take a sip of Horlicks, because both the companies have notified the exchanges. They haven't denied evaluation of opportunities, but they've refused to comment on the deal. And finally, we will keep an eye out on Shankara Bilpro. Today is the conference call that the management is holding with analysts with regards to the business update. Remember, the stock has corrected about 70% from its peak.
Oh, well, yes, we will want to watch out what the management has to say on that particular call. But you also mentioned about some relief coming in for NBFCs after RBI eases norms with respect to their loan book securitization.